We're back. It's been a while. Very excited to be back with my guy, Matt, but it's the first time you guys have seen us together in about a week. I've been sick. We've been covering for each other during the holidays, but we're very excited to talk about Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun, who should be back in a week or so. And then we'll also talk about some controversial Nikola Jokic takes and should Jamal Murray stagger with the second unit. All next here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer, folks. Thanks for joining us at the beginning of this week. If you are an everydayer, you saw that my colleague over here, Matt Moore, was live earlier today recapping the Orlando Magic game, some of the clutch problems that we have had, that the Denver Nuggets, not we, good Lord, that the Denver Nuggets have had over the course of the last couple days and weeks and things like that. There's plenty to discuss. We'll get into some of those layers in addition to some of the conversation about Aaron Gordon, Christian Braun, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and much, much more. My name is Ryan Blackburn, host here at Locked On Nuggets, also over at Mile High Sports. I've been in the building a lot of the time over the course of these last 6 or 7 years. He is Matt Moore of HB Basketball, doing Fansided, the Action Network, Denver Dig, Hardwood Paroxysm, you name it, he's doing it. Has been in the building covering this Nuggets team for 14 long years. Always very excited to get to say hi to my colleague and friend, Matt Moore. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've been able to talk on the show. Matt, how are you doing on this fine Sunday night?
Good. I've had a headache for like 3-4 days. So like I'm trying to beat that, but yeah. I've also been doing better than you. I'm glad to see you alive, man, because like, we missed you at the games last week. We missed you on Christmas. I'm glad to see you, man. I'm glad you're doing a little bit better.
Me too. It has been a struggle. Some of these days were really bad. So I'm glad to be back in the saddle. Very excited to be able to talk about these Denver Nuggets and be excited to talk about a couple of returns that we might be seeing over the course of this next week or so. Katie Wingy posted on Saturday prior to the game that David Adelman in the pregame presser said that, okay, we'll probably see Aaron Gordon or Christian Braun over the course of this road trip. And obviously that gives them a lot of wiggle room because the road trip is weeks long. But I do think that we are getting closer, and the fact that we can now put pen to paper on a take like and a conversation starter like that, it looks like Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun, Matt, will be back in the not too distant future. First and foremost, how would you grade Denver's ability to survive without them?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be B+, where it's like, it would be better if the defense hadn't fallen off a cliff, and they've had some bad losses, but it's also just like, look, they lost 2 starters and the team didn't go in the toilet. They still were able to maintain this level of success, and their offense has still been so dominant that they've won enough games. Like, they've kept their heads above water. Maybe B+ is a little bit high. I don't mind if you go B-, that'd be fine. It's got to be above a C, I think, because it's got to be a passing grade. Like, it's got to be above a passing grade. They've done well enough to be able to get the wins. They've got signature wins in there versus a lot of good teams. They've got some miserable losses, like the Mavs loss. I think the Magic one was frustrating, but wasn't a terrible one. So like, it wasn't perfect, but it was more than, I think, good enough for the way that they've kind of managed it.
Yeah, they started off without those guys pretty shakily. Like, they would win one, lose one, win one, lose one. But then they did have a 6-game winning streak in there and do deserve a lot of credit for stabilizing against the Houston Rockets, and then ultimately lost to Houston on that Saturday game that wasn't super awesome the way that they handled it, but they're also gassed. And you can come up with excuses, you can come up with reasons, but by and large, they are still in the top 4 in the Western Conference. And as a result, I think that deserves at the very least a passing grade. But Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun, obviously very important pieces. And I think we kind of differ in terms of how important they are. I obviously, Aaron Gordon is the better player. He is somebody that definitely you would like to have somebody extra to be able to throw the ball, to have some screen stuff, to be able to run the 3-man game as opposed to just relying on the 2-man game. It always feels like he's an element that's adding to it, whereas Christian Braun can be a little bit of a tangential player. But I think as we are seeing with some of their defensive stuff lately, just another capable defender in the mix would really be helping them right now in terms of switching and doing coverages properly and things of that nature.
Yeah. So I've written this for the dig. It's going up tomorrow. And I'll drop a link for the everydayers in our that join up, sign up for every day. You'll get that for free. I'm actually a little bit more optimistic about CB than you'd think. And the reason is because I think a good example is I think teams did scout him early and were like, hey, if we don't let him get out in transition, then that takes away like 70% of his offense. It's now January and teams are tired and teams are worn down and teams are shorthanded and they're in the middle of long road trips and bad rest spots and illness and all these types of things. And so you have a little bit of slippage. I think it's harder to contain players like Christian in that element. So a lot of the stuff that he did before, I think we'll get back there. Defensively, I don't find that they've blown a lot of switches. They have had miscommunications on some of the assignment stuff, and that will probably be better. I think one of the really good things I think that Christian will bring, there was a sequence yesterday where they ran Paolo Banchero at center, and Yoke drops into the paint and stands there, and they run a pick and roll action, and they kick high to Paolo. And Jamal then has to X out because Joker's not even going to like go at him at all. And if you're like, if your response is, well, yeah, Paolo Banchero's not efficient, why would you guard him? They had guarded him on every other possession before. So clearly it was in the scouting report that they didn't want to let Paolo just get loose. So Jamal goes and he makes a closeout on Paolo, who kicks a black in the corner. And Peyton on the other side has to make the rotation all the way over, but it takes Peyton a second.
Yeah, they were in zone on that one. I'm pretty sure. I've watched it too, and so
go rewatch it. They weren't. It looks like a zone because of how Nikola was playing.
Certainly looked like it,
but it wasn't.
Great.
The good news though is that Christian will actually just like Christian's response time is so good, and he's decisive as a defender.
Yeah.
Like Christian doesn't. A lot of his guys are still trying to figure out what should I do? What should I do? How should I do this? The only two guys that act, I think, without overthinking anything are honestly Spencer Jones and CB and AG. Like Christian will just like fly around, and that alone I think will help their defense a lot. Physical defender, big body. It's not going to help their pick and roll stuff. It's not going to like help all the stuff that I'm really focused in on because those are the big problem areas, but it will help so much in all of the marginal spaces that the net effect will probably be a lot greater than you'd think. I would think.
Yeah. And given Christian's ability to just do the right thing in transition a lot of the time, which is run fullback dive and get out there. And then also one of the great things that Christian does is he sets up Nikola Jokic really well when Jokic asks for the ball. And like he does that really well. And somehow Christian finds his way to 4 to 5 assists every now and then. And a big reason for that is because he's passing the ball back to Nikola in a good advantage position for him. So I do think that just having another guy that you can rely on in those situations. And again, like so much of this is they've put a lot of pressure on each of these guys because now you've removed one option and then another option and now a third option with Cam Johnson. And now you're asking Spencer Jones every night you have to play 30 minutes. It's just a requirement.
So you haven't been in the building, so we'll tell you that in the same segment same conference where Adelman talked about those guys, he did say that CB's further along than AG, and that CB's doing pregame workout out on the court. So he's getting closer. I want to kind of signal this in, which is Big Tony says CB returning will mean they don't have to play Bruce Brown 27 minutes a game. That alone will help. Well, I will also throw this in there. In the 60 minutes that they've had together, Bruce and CB are plus 23.3. And what I will tell you is that there are defenders that you want on your best defenders, and there are defenders that make a huge impact on guys who are not number one. I think Bruce is not a shutdown. He's not a shutdown corner. he is a really good guy to play on the number 2 spot. So I suppose this is like, imagine if Riley Moss was good, I guess is the comparison that like you want to make there, is like, if you're able to kind of put, if Bruce is able to attack secondary players instead of Desmond Bane, he's going to be in a much better position. So CB will probably make these Bruce minutes, which have been bad, much better. And that's going to have a net impact there.
It all spirals where you just add in one other guy, and then hopefully after that you add in Aaron Gordon, and now all of a sudden you're having some very interesting conversations about what to do with Spencer Jones and Peyton Watson, who CT Fazio asks about. Shout out to CT. How about we talk about that on the other side? When we come back, we will discuss. We're going to talk about Nikola Jokic a little bit, but we're also going to talk about some of those downstream effects that are going to be happening for all of these guys in the rotation when Christian Braun and Aaron Gordon do return. We'll be back next year on Locked On Nuggets. That was wrong. All right, folks, let's talk about FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them better every single time. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited window where special offers, they're dropping right inside the FanDuel app right before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during that happy hour, it's going to give you something new, whether it's boosts, bonuses, or surprises. These are easy things to check in on, especially if you're just following along on the game, especially for these nights. Like, there's plenty of opportunities to get in on the action, and FanDuel, with the timing, it's perfect. Right before the games, right before the weekend starts. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. All right, we are back, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it as you're following along on the YouTube side of things. If you are following along on the audio side, give us a 5-star review. Would love to see a few of those pop in as we pop into the new year, and are very excited to make 2026 a fantastic year to cover the Denver Nuggets. Okay, before we get into the Jokic conversation, I just want to say about when Christian Braun comes back, when Aaron Gordon comes back, I think that they'll come off the bench initially. I think that they will be smaller usage initially, as, like, again, Spencer Jones, Peyton Watson have done a really good job in the starting positions that they've had. And then over the course of 3, 4, 5 games, that's when you'll start to see the switch happen. Matt, I've talked about this with Swipe Up before. Do you think that when Christian Braun comes back, that he automatically should get back his starting spot?
No question.
Okay.
There's no question.
I agree with you for what it's worth.
Yeah. There's, I will let you two battle the agenda fight, but like, for me, it's like, there's a couple things. I don't like Tim with the starters. I genuinely do not like Tim with the starters. And a lot of that is because Tim has some bounce, but Tim has some bounce for creating his own shot versus being able to function and create and facilitate the rest of the offense. Christian knows how to execute. So he knows how to get the ball back to Nikola. He knows how to get the ball to AG. He knows how to get the ball to Jamal. I don't love Tim in the starting unit at all. And so, and from if we put like, if the comparison is Peyton, then, I just think that Peyton just honestly is too inconsistent. And Christian hasn't shot well, but he is very consistent in his approach. It's like the shots may go in, the shots may not go in, but Christian doesn't necessarily he doesn't wax and wane in terms of his approach. He doesn't, like, sometimes Peyton goes too hard trying to create his own offense and it goes great. And sometimes he tries too hard and it goes terribly. Sometimes he hits the corner, like he's been making the corner threes, and that's massive. Like, that's the big edge that he has on Christian, but Christian is an overall better player. And having another good overall player that knows how to play with these guys will just simply help. And a lot of it for me, honestly, is just like, if we look at how the defense has functioned, you need so much to cover for Nikola that having Christian, who is able to understand how to like, I'm not smart enough to even understand it, but this is my theory, is that Christian and AG understand how to play around Nikola effectively to balance helping to contain and cover for Nikola, while also being able to recover and maintain and not leave wide open looks that they don't want to give up. So to me, like, this is not a question. Also, you cannot, in the NBA, you do not win a title with that player in the rotation, give him the starting job for 2 seasons, give him the extension that you do, have him get hurt, and then bench him. That is not how this works. He will, like, regardless of how we feel, he's gonna start, but I think he should start.
Yeah, follow the money. Like, this is not a question to me. It was never a question. Now, the fortunate thing is that the math actually works out for Denver here, with Cam Johnson being out for probably an additional month beyond when these guys are returning. Like, Peyton can stay in the starting lineup. Like, you can still have Murray, Brown, Watson, Gordon.
Jokic. I got a good one for you.
Oh yeah.
When AG gets back, who do you start at the 3?
Peyton. I think you move Spencer to the backup 4.
I think you play. I think you start Spencer Jones. I think with that group, like, P. Watt has been lights out as a spacer, right? But what's Spencer shooting from 3?
It's like 40.
That size and physicality I like a lot. I kind of wonder if that's gonna be really good. But to your point, if you want to know, like, one of the real benefits here of getting these guys back, so I've talked a lot today on the show about, hey, they're gonna bleed without Cam Johnson, because Cam Johnson, Cam was pulling up the Jonas Valanciunas minutes.
Yeah,
like, that's what's been happening. But I do have a number that's really promising here. I gotta take Christian out of this analysis. Yeah, Jonas Valanciunas with Spencer Jones is plus 6.7. So okay. JV without Spencer is minus 3.5. I think what it really comes down to is you have to have someone with floor awareness on the wing next to JV, and that's why the Strother minutes. I think Strother makes JV worse, and JV makes Julian worse.
Yeah, it's just.
I know
who I'm prioritizing in that conversation.
I know how you feel about Julian, but like, he did have a good game. He had a really good game versus Orlando with 13 points.
It was fine. It was good.
13's good.
Double digits are good. Yeah.
So I just think but I think just having Spencer go there, but I do think it's I will say this, having the option to be like, night by night, we're going to start Spencer, we're going to start Peyton, I think could be really interesting. I also kind of think that maybe you could put Peyton back with the bench, because I'd like to give Peyton a little bit more opportunity to kind of spread his wings offensively.
You think he'd see it that way?
Do what?
Do you think he'd see it that way?
No, I think he would see it as an insult, and that's probably fair to him. And think that because he thinks he should be a starter, which I have a hard time feeling like. I don't blame him for feeling that way at all.
Yeah, I think he's earned it, to be honest, the way that he's played.
Really? You think he's been great this year?
I think by and large, he has been very good. I think over the course, like, since coming back from the injury, I think his defense has really suffered. But I think by and large, he has done everything that the Nuggets have asked him to do and more.
Okay. All right. I've been kind of like, there's been really good. There's been really good goods and really bad bads. That's how where I'm at with him.
Oh, completely fair. Okay. I want to do a couple of questions on Jokic, because you have, and we've had these conversations before, both on and off the air, in terms of where Jokic is at from a defensive perspective. I think, and like, I went back and watched the final 6 minutes of the game last night, because I wanted to see, okay, where are some of these breakdowns actually happening? What's the actual issue here? It wasn't with Jokic in the final 6 minutes. I'll say that. I can say that in the final 6 minutes specifically.
Well, you and I, what we should do is we for the everydayers is we should actually get on a live stream and stream it and go over it bit by bit.
I understand why you feel the way that you do about it, especially because, like, I think you could look at it and okay, a lot of these guys are overreacting to certain things. A lot of these guys are out. Like, I just think that they are poor rotations. I think that that's straight up what it was. And whether that's Jamal Murray being behind a play a couple of times, Tim Hardaway Jr. screwing up a switch, Bruce Brown getting muscled out of the way by Paolo Banchero, like these are things that happen. And like there are things that happen throughout the game. But I think that for the first 3 quarters of the game, Jokic was a problem defensively. Like he was a problem. And then for the last 6 minutes of the game defensively, I don't think that Jokic was the problem. I think that it was just the Magic picking at different issues that the Nuggets are facing throughout. Like these guys are flawed. They're flawed defensive players, and that's okay. Like expecting them to cover for Jokic and then still do the thing in the fourth quarter is probably the wrong thing. But when you're trying to figure out where the issues are defensively in clutch moments, where are the Nuggets giving up a whole bunch of open shots? Yes. Is it because they're over rotating because of Jokic? Sometimes. Like it's not all the time. I can say that. Like they're just sometimes they're just screwing up, man. And that to me is where the disconnect kind of happens. I need to know from you how much of the burden of the defense, and especially when it fails, should be at Jokic's feet for being a flawed defender.
So I said this on the show. I said I don't blame Jokic for this game because he was plus 16. They won his minutes. And someone says, Matt literally acts like everyone else is perfect on the perimeter, and he blamed Jokic for the defense and clutch defense. That's not true. It's not what I did. It's not accurate. I think what you're doing is you're looking at the end sequence of who is making the rotation as opposed to seeing why that rotation is late. Like you're paying attention to how does the shot get open rather than, or like what is happening why isn't that shot defended versus what got that shot open? And we can kind of break it down again another time. This is the thing I've kind of come to, which is like, I get it that Jokic is like, he's the best player in the world. He's absolutely amazing. And I will say this, when he locks in, like he did in the Wolves game, like he's awesome. So it's like in the playoffs, he's going to be a plus defender and everyone's going to be like, Jokic is a terrible defender. And then they're going to be surprised when he's a good defender in the playoffs, because when Jokic actually engages, he's incredible. What I see when I go through this is, again, I talked about this today, Tony. It says, guys go right by our perimeter defenders. I'm telling you, look, there is numbers and data and evidence that tells you that's not accurate. They are great in isolation. They're terrible in pick and roll. Do you know why? You're not expected to just run over a screen and keep contained. That is a 2-man defensive process. Where I get to here is the offense is unbelievable with Jokic, and I'm fine if you don't want to blame him at all. Here's what I don't know how to do. If we're diagnosing the problem, which is the defense, that's the only reason they lose any games. And overall, there's a huge net positive. But the only thing that we can really diagnose as far as like a weakness is the defense. And when I sit down and I look at it, and I will do the clips for you, I can show you to them that there are these sequences where the entire goal of the defense is to not let a pick and roll ball handler get to the rim. And the guy gets to the rim for a layup with no contest. What else am I supposed to tell you? And you're like, well, he got past the perimeter defender. Yeah, because the perimeter defender got screened. That's where the big's supposed to pick him up. NBA defense is systemic. It is not built to be. They don't run switch all. If they ran switch all and the perimeter guys were getting absolutely annihilated, I would talk about that.
Yeah.
Bruce Brown got absolutely bumped through by Paolo Banchero because he's much bigger. It's what we kind of talked about with Christian, right?
Yeah.
That's a problem. Okay. There are defensive weaknesses on this. I'm not saying that these are all like A-level defenders. I'm telling you that when I sit down and I watch these plays, I can tell you how many times it is them trying to compensate for Nikola and how many times the weakness is a Jokic component. It doesn't matter because he wins his minutes. It doesn't matter. But if you want to talk about defense, what I don't want to do, Ryan, is what would the fans do a lot, which is this. Which is Joker's awesome, and I don't want to blame him. So it's got to be everyone else's problem. When I'm just like, yeah, but that's not what's happening. Like, I would agree with you. Like, it's fine to feel that way. But when we actually diagnose the play dynamics of containment and pick and roll, when they're at the level, does he show hard enough? No, he's like playing one step back. And drop. Is he containing at the rim to force mid-range shots? No, he's letting guys score with nothing there. in zone? Is he out in to defend that corner? No. Like, that is what is happening consistently. And that doesn't mean that like these other guys don't have responsibilities. They do. And I point out when they make those mistakes as well.
Sure.
But this is where I have this is the challenge that I have, which is like, it's fine. And I'm the one that's been sitting here being like, they're awesome, they're incredible, they're a title contender. Because it doesn't matter. Like, that's the best offense I've ever seen.
Yeah. You make sure to mention that consistently. You say wagon pretty much every time. Yeah.
But what I can't do is I can't do this thing where it's like, it can't be Jokic's fault because he's so awesome offensively. I can't personally do that.
I have a point. I have a counter. And it's not to say you're wrong. It's more to say, like, let's open up this conversation and talk about it from a slightly different way. We'll be right back here on that next on Locked On Nuggets. All right, we are back. Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into the show. I want to respond to that from Matt here about they are a wagon offensively. Especially when you're down as many starters as Denver is, the most important thing for Denver has been that they have maintained their offensive process. They Jokic and Murray especially have done a great job of picking up the slack and have allowed for Denver to kind of weather the storm in the way that they have. They've helped lift some other guys up. They've helped assume some of that offensive responsibility. I think that Murray has really suffered defensively as a result. And I think that Jokic has suffered really defensively as a result of taking on that larger offensive burden. My counter, I guess, to this particular conversation is having guys have different responsibilities on the floor is pretty common, especially from a different roles and a different responsibilities perspective. And I tend to think that when Jokic is out there and we give him all of this credit offensively, we give him it's a whole bunch of soaking up of possessions on the offensive end. It's the two-man game. It's everything about that. A lot of the orbiting that happens around him for Peyton Watson, for Spencer Jones, for Tim Hardaway, like sometimes those guys are providing spacing. Sometimes those guys are providing cutting and occasional creation. But most of the time, it's more to augment what Jokic and Murray are doing. How much of the responsibility, like, do you think that they should be scaled up and playing having 60 to 70% of their focus is on the defensive end, and Jokic is kind of counter to that as a result?
Okay. If they play at the level, and Jamal's part of this too, because like there was a sequence, Desmond Bane was able to get the ball reversal to the other side for a corner three because Jamal and Nikola, but Jamal didn't cut off that passing lane. If you play at the level, what's the objective?
It's to prevent the pass from getting to the middle, or to prevent the drive.
But they let that go all the time. If they make that the short roll, what is the supporting defender's number one priority? Stop the layup. You got to stop the layup. You can't let the short roll just dunk. Okay. Yeah. So now, and like, I'll tell if you want an example of me criticizing somebody else, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s rotations here in terms of his ability to show middle and recover are terrible because Tim's 34 and at the end of his career.
Yeah. He's been bad.
Okay? Yeah. LFB says Anthony Edwards was flying P-Watt, but Matt will blame Jokic. No, man. I don't care if he fries P-Watt. Do you know why? Because it's Anthony Edwards. Like, that's baked in. You play the best defense that you can. You're not supposed to lock down Anthony Edwards. He's Anthony Edwards. I'm talking about the easy stuff that you give up. If you allow that short pass middle, you got to be able to rotate down and then recover to the corner. And it's the hardest thing in the NBA. The way you prevent that is you don't allow it. You show hard, you disrupt that pass, and you force that ball handler to have to reset. And Jokic did that when he was at his best defensively. And that doesn't happen anymore. And so, like, these are the type of things I'm talking about, Ryan, where it's like, what's a reasonable responsibility level? In part because a lot of what you're asking for wings like Tim Hardaway Jr., Peyton Watson, Bruce Brown to be rim protectors.
Yeah.
That's not reasonable. Like, they can't do that. And in drop, okay, the guard comes off of the pick. Jamal gets hung up on the screen. Jamal's fighting to get back over to recover. but the guy gets downhill. The Nuggets scheme, what are you trying to prevent and drop?
Shots at the rim. You're trying to allow mid-range jumpers.
Okay. Do you want Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Jones, Peyton Watson coming from the corner to help Nikola so he doesn't have to contest and leaving a wide open corner three?
So here's my take on this. I would want them to just play drop and let Jokic get attacked downhill. That would be what I would want. If I were a Nuggets fan, I would want the other guys to be saved from doing stuff for the entire 4 quarters and for Jokic to be willing and able to accept the fact that he's getting attacked defensively.
Do you know what that looks like? The Dallas game. That's what that looks like. That's why Ryan Nembhard has his 2 career high scoring nights versus the Denver Nuggets. Is they loaded up to be like, we got to try and take away Flag and Anthony Davis. And if Ryan Nembhard kills us, okay. And Ryan Nembhard got layups over and over and over again. I want to be clear on this. I am okay with this because I'm honestly kind of like, look, solve the problems when you get there. The defense isn't great with Nikola. Who cares? You're winning by 12 points per 100 possessions. Who cares? Somebody commented that they're like, well, then why isn't the defense so much better when he's off the court? And I'm like, I don't think that the bench unit is any good defensively either from a personnel or execution standpoint. I don't think all these guys are great defenders. I think Jamal has given a lot of effort this year, but I think Jamal gets beat on a pretty NBA standard for his size and capability level.
But I don't. Backcuts are getting to be problematic with Jamal.
Yeah. But also the defense is 1 point better with Nikola off the court. Does that mean that it's not worth Nikola? No. He's the best player in the world. They kill teams with him on the court. Doesn't matter. But if you're asking in the games that they lose and the defense plays badly, why? And not specifically the Magic one, but if you're asking why, like when I go through, if I would genuinely tell you, if I had somebody else to blame, I would blame them. But I don't have these, like, I don't see like, oh, he just didn't get out there. He just didn't even try. No, that doesn't happen. Like they have a really consistent high closeout effort. Like these guys are flying to try and make the rotation. They're late because they're helping so much.
How do you feel about, okay, 2 more things. How do you feel about separating it between first 3 quarters and fourth quarter for Nikola, where he can amp things up at least a little bit more defensively?
This is kind of the thing is that I said to kind of mention this. Like, this is what I would tell you is like, I'm not worried about Nikola in a playoff series.
Yeah. Like he'll figure it out.
I am telling, like, when I talk about Jokic's defense, I am telling you what has happened, not what needs to happen or what will happen. That's the difference here is like, I'm not talking about his defense to try and discredit him as the best in the world. That dude could play worse defense by a magnitude and still be the best player on earth. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do when it's like, well, they need to play defense, but not Nikola. And it's like, it's not going to work unless if you want the defense. And the Wolves game, I think, is a great example of this. Joker was killer in that game. He was killer. He was great defensively. Like when he wants to, he puts it in.
He just can't do it every night. Like,
but if you're asking why they're losing to the Bulls, why are they losing to the Mavericks? Why are they losing to the Kings? Why are they losing to the Magic? Like, and not even the Magic as much. Like he's not the only reason. I'm not saying he's the only reason.
Yeah.
And if they had Matisse Thybulle, Herb Jones, if they had 4 elite defenders around him, they might honestly have the same level of offensive production or relative to it, like a 118 versus a 122, and be way better because those guys would entirely cover for him.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah. It's a personnel thing. And it's one of the reasons why they have an amazing offense is because they do have the right players around them offensively. Okay. We didn't get to the Jamal Murray stuff. I'll just ask you really quick. Do you think that Jamal Murray should stagger with the second unit while Cam Johnson is out? Because they already don't have a backup point guard that they trust.
The numbers say it doesn't really matter.
That it's going to suck no matter what?
Yeah, that doesn't really. The numbers say it really honestly doesn't really matter. That like,
okay,
JV and Murray are minus 2.5, which is fine. JV without Murray is plus 1.5. Like, I don't know. I don't think it makes a huge difference whether he does or not. I think it's really honestly more about Spencer.
Okay. So I would, if I were the Nuggets, then I'd try to put together a Jamal, Bruce, Tim, Spencer, JV lineup. And that's the direction I would go for the next few games if I were to try to build out the bench, especially when Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun come back. Although Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun will probably come off the bench at the initial outset.
The Jamal Murray, the Jamal JV, Tim and Bruce Matt lineups are terrible. That
was with Peyton at the beginning of the season, and I think there were a lot of chemistry and not chemistry, but like some things they were trying to figure out with some of those looks too. Okay, well, that's all I think we got. I think it's all we have time for. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, just that like I don't want to blame Joker. I'm not trying to be unfair to Nikola. I just am like, if you want to know what the problem is for a team that is currently, what's the record right now?
22-9.
Yeah, like the 22-9 number one offense in the NBA. Yeah, they give back a little bit on defense. Who cares? This team is still a title contender.
Good. That's the right framing for it, I think. So, Matt, great stuff tonight. Everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Locked On Nuggets. Thank you for tuning into the show. Really appreciate the love and support on the podcast, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. We will talk to you guys very soon.